So yeah, so I'll let you take it away.
Thank you. Well, again, a natural progression from GP to BC, and I feel very privileged to be able to come and just give a 15-minute overview of MetaViewer. We've been around for 46 years and have been focused in document management as well as accounts payable automation, AR automation, and just now payment automation. And so, really trying to expand the portfolio and find ways upstream and downstream of the AP process to continue to automate and try to simplify the everyday for all of our clientele. And so, I just need to be able to move to the next slide. So with AP automation, just as a general overview on how it works. Document comes in, whether it comes in electronically or you're still getting paper documents, and then we scan those documents. Since COVID, most things do come electronic, but there is still, everyone does get snail mail once in a while, and it is nice to receive, but not when generally when it's an invoice or a bill. We scan that in, and then that gets sent into our AI engine, the intelligent recognition platform, which is able to then extract all the necessary data that is needed to fill out the form. We just determine whether it's a PO or not. Based on that PO realization, or when it's non-PO, so an invoice, then it's going to go through to GL coding. If if the invoice doesn't match the PO, and we need to reconcile what's going on based on what was already in BC, then we go through a reconciliation phase to realize, okay, maybe we're only being invoiced for 20 of the shirts that we sold, and so instead of the 30, so we need to alter that to reconcile and realize there's still outstanding. So that goes through after the intelligent recognition, and then we upload into BC. Once we're there, we can do our just standard browser. You're able to go and retrieve the documents at any time, as well as not just through the browser but through your phone, and making sure that it comes up and it is easy to download and to utilize as needed. We are integrated with all Microsoft Dynamics, Acumatica, and a boatload of others as well. And we have just introduced the automated payment option. So not only are we able to introduce to get through the point of being able to post that invoice, but now we can also ensure payment and help you save money when you get the early credits for payment. So, we've really fine-tuned where we're focused currently, and so agriculture, farming, manufacturing, distribution, retail, and wholesale is really where MetaViewer has fine-tuned. We were servicing, I think, over 17 verticals, and needed to find a way to just really find out where our customer base was focused. And so, in knowing that time, looking at the evolution of where our focus is, it's also a perfect time to look at how MetaViewer works with Business Central, as we do make that migration to the latest and greatest. So let's just jump in here and have a look at how it works. So we have the browser here, and we have Business Central up. So like other software applications, it's very much like role driven. And so it all depends on what the role is that you're looking at. So based on that, you looked at this, the user we're demonstrating here, they have a few different roles. So we're really just showing here the AP side of house. As the invoices come in, we can see the email box as they feed up into MetaViewer, and then we see it goes into AP prep. So when it goes into the queue here, we'll see we're at 17 currently. Now, once those invoices are handed off to Business Central, they'll be down here in the waiting for payment. That's now when we've gone through the prep stage and we're just waiting for that payment to come in. Once that payment information comes in, we can apply that to the document, as well as the other extracted data. And then we have a fully functional and a fully filled out document. You can search for any document by the general ledger code, by the header data, by the approver, by the vendor. So there's a whole plethora of options here. Now we jump in, and we jump into this fabricant supplier invoice. So on the right is an audit trail area so that you can see what's happening, what user interactions there are, and it just kind of gives you a timestamp as you move through the process. So those are all the check and balances that we've currently run this through. And then on the left, you'll see all the purchase order number, all the fields that we were able to extract the data off of this invoice through our intelligent recognition. Based on that, system was able to find some receipts, and we matched those receipts to the invoice, the perfect match. And so with a perfect match, we just push it right over to Business Central, and we just wait for the payment information to come back. And when it does, we'll populate that details. But it's not always a perfect world. And so when it doesn't come back as a perfect match, then we go into the verification queue. And so when we go in here, we're able to then edit the PO and rerun it, the automation, and see if it is a perfect match then. If it's not a perfect match, though, let's have a look here at this data receivers invoice and kind of go through how this works. So you can see when the invoice came in, it didn't match. And so that's what the message on the right, just to keep it honest and to really highlight why it's here. It did pull the PO number, and it is a valid PO. And, it was able to attach it and understand what it's related to, but we can't find a perfect match. So we go to code and reconcile, and then it shows us what's available to match to. And if you look here, the M17 wiring harnesses were off by a few $1,000s. So now let's look at the invoice. And we're looking at, what aren't we being invoiced for? What is it that's missing? So we're only being billed for 171, but we have 3 different receipts. So if you look, it's the first 2 added together, 171. So we erase the last line, which means it goes back and it's now still waiting in Business Central. But now we have a perfect match, so we can reconcile and push it on. But now, if we go back and it's not a match, and it doesn't pull any receipts. So let's go back and have a look at that. Here with the data and receivers, you can see on the document, all the fields that are highlighted, that shows you where the intelligent recognition was able to extract that information from, and then how it populated. You can see the icons as well in the major field. So you can click on that in order to see that it came from there. And if it was wrong, this is where you could train the AI so that it learns how to behave and how to pull that data the next time this invoice comes through. So you hit code and reconcile. And this is where it communicates to the Business Central system. And if there was a default account code, it would have filled that in down here. But because it didn't come in, it either means that we haven't processed this data and receivers before, or we don't have a default process built into that vendor card. So we type in a few characters of account code in order to understand what the potential account codes are that are valid from Business Central to this invoice. But not only account code, you can also do a description. If you wanted to type out, materials, it would then pick that up and give you the account code. So here, let's do cost of materials. And, if you have depending on what dimensions you're looking for, and it's all about what the individual client's rules are. Here we're just showing department and customer group. So we can fill that in, and through the drop down, it's something that populates. So here we're going to go coded. The system now knows who the default approvals are, and it's sent it to department 100. If for some reason we wanted to change it somewhere else, so we send it for approval, and it's going to state that I've coded, verified, and sent for approval. So it's on me, and we can trace back to who it was that submitted that. So you log in, you see, John has his approval queues. And so he clicks on the queues, sees what's there. Oh, there's the data receivers invoice, right? So the one that we just sent in there, now here it is. We've hidden fields that aren't viewable here for the approver because it's not necessary. It's also cleaner. And the coding here, it could be editable if you want the approver to be able to move things around if there was an error. but many decide not to give the approval that kind of flexibility, and so we can just pass it through. It comes down to whatever the administrator and AP team decide is easiest and best to do. So from here, you can either route it to final review or on to the next approver, depending on what the dollar threshold is, what kind of workflows you've had as input, so that we're not wasting people's time, but we're also ensuring the right eyes see each invoice that comes in. But if for some reason you get this and it's not meant to go to Eric, it's meant to go to Eric with a K, then you can say, oh, not mine, and you just mark that, and it leaves your queue, goes back into the not verified, and then AP will pick that up in their inbox, and they can be able to push that back through. So rejected payables, right? So that's when we canceled. And then reassigned approvals is where I said it wasn't mine. But I can go, I can look at mine. I can look, everything looks good. It matches. So I can say, no, you know what? This is good. I can send it back to the ERP or just to send it to final approval. So here in this case, I'm going to say export to the ERP. And really, that's a quick overview of what we do with invoices, related to purchase orders and non-purchase orders. So that was really quick, but the purpose is just to highlight capabilities, understanding, and how we then go about taking the data from an invoice coming in and how we can communicate in real time with BC. Not only though is MetaFile able to offer through MetaViewer, the AP automation. There's so many other little modules and add-ons that have come over the course of our 46 years. Expense report workflows, requisition approvals, payment batch approvals, the journal entry, making sure that we're able to take those notes and have the journal entry, the built-in AI model, so it's constantly learning and becoming that much more effective. The ability to PDF split, so if you're getting multiple invoices within one document and having to go through that manual process of splitting them out, you can put them into the system, and through rules of every time the invoice number changes, or every time there's an address change or an attention change to someone within the company, whatever rule that is that you put in, we can go through and automatically split out that document that might have had 10 invoices, split it out into those 10 after page 2, after page 7, after page 10, then after page 14, and then after page 22. You can go through and split those out. So that's saving a ton of time for the end user. And then being able to use packing slip receiving and staying completely compliant and allowing for the search functionality for an auditor, if they come in, to be able to go in and search for any document at any time and be able to pull that up without having to fully know the system, was something that we really doubled down on. And then, AP is where our focus has been, but we did start off in document management and overall, accounts receivable, order processing, HR, and contracts. We can pivot in many different directions to offer you a completely automated solution to start giving, we deal in the currency of time here at MetaFile, and we like to give the currency of time back to our clients so that they have the ability to find new and innovative ways that they can better their business as we help to try to offer you a solution to better yours. Amy, I was a little bit quicker than I normally am, but I really appreciate the opportunity today.
I know you were.
and for those that have any questions or any interest in learning more, please feel free to reach out.
Thank you so much, Eric.